Good morning. This is your first note video for Algebra 2. And when you do your notes, here is what I would like you to put at the top. So you're going to put your name at the top. That's so when I get pictures of them, I realize they're going in a spiral notebook. But when I get pictures of them, I will know who's sending them to me. And then underneath of that, the video number. So this is video number 1 for class. Up here, Algebra 2, so the class. And then I want you to put the name of the topic up here. This is solving equations. And it's actually order of operations in solving equations. And this may seem a little bit mundane as far as information goes, but it's all of this is review for the first 9 weeks almost. But just getting us used to each other and the way that we're going to get things done. So right now, before we go any further, why don't you, in the very bottom corner of your page, I want you to put down here 1.1. So that is your chapter and section number. And we're going to put those on the bottom right corners if you're on a front page, and the bottom left corner if you're on the back side of the page. And then that way you can flip through your notebook and just looking at the bottom corners, see what sections that you need. Okay? So there's a bunch of vocab here that we have to get out of the way. So again, bear with me while we do this, but the first one, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So a term. You might want to underline that vocab. A term is contained in an expression or an equation that consists of a number, a variable, or the product of the two, and it's also called a monomial. So you saw that box that just popped up. That happens randomly throughout these videos. I don't really know why. I just ignore them. I used to try to get rid of them, but it was just a pain in the rear end. Monomial, single term. Okay, so that's a term. The next is expression. And this is a number and or variable combined with math operations if you don't know, math operations are add, subtract, multiply, and divide. I'm not going to put that in mine, but if you don't know what some of these numbers are as we go, or words are, you should annotate your notes, make copies on the sides, or write notes on the sides, and just add stuff in wherever you need to. So use to represent a number. Okay, and this additionally does not contain an equal or inequality. Equal sign. Put the word sign in here. Or inequality symbol. Inequality symbols are things like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to. Okay, so that's an expression. Now I have all of these on the front of the page of notes that are sitting in front of me that I'm taking these from. So My 1.1 is actually much further down. This should be at the bottom of your page, right? This guy here, bottom right corner of your page. All right, next is an equation. An equation is a statement where the value of two mathematical expressions are equal to each other. And this will contain either an equal sign or an inequality symbol. Okay, two more, I guess. Like or similar terms like terms are monomials that have exactly the same variable and exponent combinations. For example, x squared y, let's put 3x squared y plus 10x squared y. As long as these are exactly the same combinations, you just add or subtract what's in front, right? And you leave the variable combinations the same. So those would be like terms. And then lastly, we have a coefficient. And your coefficient is the number in front of a variable. Okay, and remember, so this is kind of a recall from before, that a variable with no coefficient has a coefficient value of 1. And so if you have something like 3x plus x, remember that in front of the x there's an invisible 1, and you need to make sure that you count that. And so this would be 4x if you added those two things together. Okay, so bottom right corner, 1.1. You're going to flip your page. I'm going to flip my page anyway. Go to a new screen, and hopefully you're at the bottom of your screen. Maybe you got more than that. Maybe you still have a ton of space. I don't know. So here's some examples. So if we have something like, here's just combining like terms, 5x plus 3y plus 2x plus 7y. You're going to find anything with exactly the same variable terms and add up the coefficients. So 5 and 2 is 7, so that would be 7x. And then you have a 3y and a 7y, and that would be a plus 10y. These two are not like terms, so that would be your answer. So when you have answers, I would like to make sure that you box them. Oh, also, order of operations. Some of you may remember the wonderful "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." Right? And this is the order that you should do things in. The P, parentheses. And really, that's any grouping symbol. So we also have brackets, braces, and a fraction bar are the additional grouping symbols. Also, technically, a square root is a grouping symbol because anything under the root can be done before anything else. So you could also technically throw a square root in there. All right, the E is for exponents. M and D is multiply and divide. A and S is add and subtract. Subtract. Oh, ignore that. All right, and then keep in mind that multiply and divide, you don't multiply before you divide. You do these from left to right in the problem. So if you had something like 6 divided by 3 times 7, you do this first. 6 divided by 3 is 2, times 7 is 14. You do not multiply the 3 times 7 and get 21 and divide 6 by 21. So make sure that you know that you go left to right when you do order of operations for both multiply and divide and add and subtract. Okay, so order of operations is important, and I'm going to point out a couple of places where I want to make sure you don't make any boo-boos. Let's see. We'll do that in a minute. I'm going to take you out and show you a good online calculator in case you don't have a good one at home when you do work. There's always access to them in my classroom. But let's do another example down here. If we have something like -2 parenthesis 4y plus 3 plus 7. The process you're going to use here, you should all know, is the distributive property, which means you're multiplying, right? And you stop doing the distributive property when you get to the closed parentheses. So we only distribute to those two terms. You do not distribute the 2 to the 7 because the closed parenthesis is here. You stop there and then just bring anything down. So if we multiply here, we have -2 times 4y is a -8y. -2 times a +3 is a -6, and then just bring the +7 down in the equation. And now you're going to combine like terms. I know it seems like I shouldn't have to tell you all of these things, but I do have kids coming from all sorts of schools. Some of you have kind of slipped through the cracks in other classes, and I don't want that to happen in my class. I want to make sure we're all on the same page right from the get-go. We've all been given the same information. So here I have a -6 plus 7 is a +1, and I can't do anything else. The 8y and the 1 are not like terms. So this would be the expression that I would get when I simplified. All right, next one. This one has a common boo-boo in it. 9 minus 3 times y plus 4. Now remember, multiply before add and subtract. So we'd multiply the -3 and put that negative on the 3. That goes with it. So we're going to bring the 9 down, and then we're going to have a -3y minus 12, and then combine like terms. So -3y, here, I'll change colors. -3y, 9 minus 12 is -3, and that would be the answer. Here's what a lot of people do with that problem. Excuse me. 9 minus 3 times y plus 4. I will have kids do this. Can you tell where that came from? Do you know what I just did? What they do is they take these two things and subtract first, because that's what they see first, going left to right, and they get a 6. That changes this problem completely. You end up with a 6y plus 24, which is not the answer. And it's not the answer because the first step was incorrect because you didn't follow, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, where it clearly says you multiply before you subtract. Okay, this has to happen first. So remember the order of operations when you work through these problems. Okay, the next problem. This is just a little soapbox for me. Fractions are necessary in math. They're important, and you're going to do a crap ton of them in my class. So get comfortable with them. Don't be afraid of them. I'm doing this problem because I know there's a similar one in your varsity assignment, and here's what it looks like. Negative 30 times negative 1/6 x minus 1/5 y plus 10 times 1/2 x plus 3/5 y. Now, let me show you how I do these if I'm going to multiply something, and just kind of see if you can follow where I'm going, and then I'll also show you a good calculator. So if I have negative 30 times 1/6, don't even worry about the variable, it's unimportant. But if this number, the denominator, divides evenly into this whole number, you're going to do that. So I'm going negative 30 divided by 6 is 5. And then you take that 5 and you multiply by the numerator. So in this case, the numerator is 1. So I get 5, and then I multiply the 5 times the 1, and it's actually a negative 5, right? This will be a negative 5 times 1 is a negative 5. So when I multiply negative 30 times a negative 1/6, negative times a negative is a positive. I go 6 into 30 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5. So this is a 5x. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with the negative 30 times negative 1/5. Well, 5 will go into 30 6 times, and I'm going to have a positive. And then I take the 6 and just store that in your head. And there's a 1 for the numerator again. So 6 times 1 is 6. So this is 6y. So this whole ugly, gross thing turns into that not so ugly, gross thing. Okay. I'll do the other one in blue. So 10 times a half. Well, half of 10 is 5, right? But if you do it the way I'm showing you, 2 goes into the 10 5 times. 5 times 1 is 5. So plus 5x. And then I'm going to do 10 times 3/5. So 5 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times the 3 is 6. So that's plus a 6y. And so this whole disgusting thing turns into that. And now I have a very simple non-fractional expression that I can simplify. And when I do, I have 5x plus 5x is 10x. And then 6y plus 6y is 12y. All right. I'm going to take you to a calculator, and I would like you to actually go there also. It's online. It's desmos.com/scientific. Okay, and I'm going to zip over there and bring that up. Let's see, I need a keyboard. Desmos.com/scientific. Okay, so when you go here, you will see a calculator that looks like that. And what I love about this calculator is its ability to do fractions and the simplicity of it. So if you're looking at your notes, we had a negative 30 times negative 1/6. That was the first thing, right? So if I put in there a negative 30, I'm not sure where the negative, I'm going to just do this. Negative 30, and then I'm going to go times a negative 1/5. So negative, put in a fraction. So here's the fraction symbol right here. Okay. Oh, I just put a fraction inside a fraction. That's not great. Hang on. I'm going to go back. All right. I'm clearing all. All right. Negative 30. I can't believe I don't have like a plus or minus sign somewhere. Let's see. Negative 30 times negative fraction. We had 1/5. So 1, go to the bottom, put in the 5. And your answer is over here. And there's the 6. And we just stuck a, what? Oops, I was supposed to do 1/6, wasn't I? 1/6. Let me back that up. Back that up. Put a 6 in there. And there's my answer right here. Okay, now let's take a look at when we did 10 times 3/5. So if I do 10 times 3/5, I go 10 times, hit the fraction button, 3/5. And then again, it tells me over here my answer is 1/6. You didn't have this on your paper, but what if we have like 3/4 times 5/9 or something? I'm just going to make something up. I just want you to see how nice this is. 3/4. Move your cursor to the side so it's over there, times another fraction, 9/4. I'm going to do. So that's an improper fraction. So my answer should be an improper fraction. 9/4. So what I want you to notice over here is that it gives you the decimal approximation, but then you have this button right here that is a little fraction button. So if I hit that, it's going to change the decimal into the equivalent improper reduced fraction, which is important because you're going to use those a ton in my class. No mixed numbers, things like 1 2/3, get them out of your vocabulary. You're not going to use them at all. They're either proper or improper reduced fractions. Okay, so calculator, super handy. We can do trig functions on it at the end of the year. We can do radicals on it. We can do fractions on it. You can do everything you need on it. And I will allow you to use this calculator on a quiz if you want. All right, so moving forward, let's go back to our little note session here. I have one more little thing that I want to point out. Now, if you're done with your page, remember this page is going to have on this bottom corner, if you're on the back side of the page, your number is going to go in the bottom left corner, chapter and section, so that you can look at the outsides of the pages and always know where you are. If you don't use the back of the page and you're on the front of the page again, then that should go over here if you're on the front, okay? All right, so the last thing I want to do here is a problem. Again, more to point out the order of operations than anything else. I know this is a problem in the varsity assignment you're going to do for me. So it says evaluate a plus b quantity squared and a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. If a is -4, oh Lord, -4, and b is 5. So this process, when you substitute a number in for a variable, is called substitution. Right? And I want to talk about the first one. It said evaluate a plus b quantity squared. Now, because of calculator use, if you guys always put negatives around, or parentheses, around negatives, you'll be okay. So this one is just in parentheses. A is -4, b is 5 squared. So order of operation, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses happen first. Can you simplify inside the parentheses? Yes, you can. So -4 plus 5 is 1, and that 1 is then squared, which means 1 times 1, which equals 1. Okay, so that one's done. And then we're going to do this guy. So a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. We're going to substitute. So substitute -4 into a set of parentheses. If you use a calculator without parentheses here, you're going to get the wrong answer every single time. So if you have single numbers that you're squaring, I would highly recommend that you put parentheses around those things. All right, so moving forward here, if I... Oh, my colors just changed. It's so strange. All right, so I'm going to take -4 squared, which means -4 times -4. Negative times a negative is a positive, so I get a 16. Then I have 2 times -4 is -8 times 5 is -40. And here, 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. Okay, well, 16 and 25 is 41, so I'm going to add these two numbers together. And 41 minus 40 is 1. All right, this is a good example of showing work. Could I have typed all that in a calculator and gotten an answer? Sure, I could. Then, if I was to look at your work, let's say you have a problem, you get the wrong answer here, and you just have a 12 in there, and I don't have a clue why because you put it all in a calculator. That doesn't work for me. So I'm going to keep reiterating at the beginning of this class, show work, show work, show work. Do these kinds of things. Don't just plug stuff into a calculator and go from there. Make sure that you are actually showing stuff. I want to be able to see where your mistakes are. And I can't do that if you don't show all of your work. Okay? So those are the notes for 1.1. Remember, this was video 1. And you will have some varsity and sometimes assignments coming along with that. Now, just kind of a reminder. Let's just go back here real quick. I'm going to go to Varsity Learning. You guys have all already created accounts. So when you log in, you're going to use the email that you created. And mine is firstname.lastname@rgdrag.org. Yours should be firstname.lastname@student.rgdrag.org. And then your password should be capital first initial of your first name, lowercase first initial of your last name, 6-digit lunch pin, which is also the last 6 digits of your student ID number. Now, if you guys ever can't log in somewhere, I can change your password, but I can't see your password. So we might have to change those sometimes and go from there. But you're going to hit log in. And then over here, you would see only Algebra 2 as a course. I see all 3 that are related to me. So I'm going to click on Algebra 2. And then a reminder that what you would see in the calendar, right in here, anything that's due for you. Now, this is June, or May, I'm sorry. So we're looking at the end of the school year for 2020. But you'll see anything that's due on the calendar in here. And then let me go to the student view here. You guys should see any kind of bars here. So you should have chapter 1 open, and you can hit the down arrow, go to a lesson, and go from there. Okay, so also remember that there are video lessons in here. Not me, not the lesson I'm doing right now, but another video lesson taught by somebody else. So if it's better for you, you can go watch both of those videos. Maybe they'll teach it in a way that you understand better than I do. But class time, notes are going to primarily be done outside of class unless you need the note day to do them. You can do them in class with a set of headphones. And then all your class time is essentially going to be working on assignments in class. You are welcome to work ahead. Everything's been posted into Classroom. And when you have all of your work done and submitted, you can just chill and use my room as a study hall. Okay. But let me say, I do not tolerate loud or obnoxious behavior or rude. Don't be rude to anybody. That is just not necessary. So I don't mind if you use my room as a study hall or my class as a study hall, but you need to be quiet at your desk. Getting up and wandering around my room, not cool. Yelling across the room to somebody else, not cool. You guys have ways to communicate with each other that don't involve throwing anything. So I expect mature adult behavior at all times in my classroom. Got it? Thanks. All right, so back to notes. So we're going to the next steps are you just took these notes. You're going to take a picture of them. So you're going to take a picture or a couple if you have more than one page. And you're going to go to Google Classroom. You're going to find the assignment for video 1. Actually, I know this adds more time to this, but let me just do this. I'll just take you out here right now. I've already kind of got a test class set up, so let me show you what that's going to look like. Algebra 2 test class. When you guys come in, the best place for you to be is to go to the classwork tab right up here on the page. And I'll show you why momentarily. The other useful place for you to go is right here where it tells you what upcoming work you have. And so if I hit view all, I'm not going to see anything at the moment, but so you have no work to review. But let me show you what that looks like in an active class that's happening right now. Algebra 2 ninth period. So here, upcoming, due today. They have a video due. Today's Friday, so it's due at 11:59 tonight. And then they have 2 varsity assignments. And if I hit view all, what it does is it shows the whole list of things that we have done. And so it would look the same for you. You would see the assignment, you'd see the due date, and due, that means they're due today, right? If it just says due. Otherwise, there's a date on here like this one where it says May 8th. But this is the best place for you to see. It will show you if you've turned it in, if it's been assigned, if it's been graded, and then you can go and look for it. Okay. Now, that said, remember that that is this little area here, the upcoming. That's one of the most useful places that you want to go. I don't like, this is called the stream right here. I don't really like the stream because if you just scroll down through here, look at all this, it just gets so boggled. There's no way for me to put folders in here and organize information. So the organization for you is best going to be seen. Again, click on classwork up here at the top. So I'm going to click on classwork. And what I want you to notice is over here on the left-hand side, you have this all topic area. And so we're now in chapter 1. None of these have been posted yet, but this has been set up in order for you to do. So the very first thing you're going to do right here is you're going to do the video on solving equations. That's the one we just did notes on. Then you're going to have a worksheet. Anything that has a worksheet, it will be posted and attached. So you can just copy problems right from here and submit them, or you can have this printed. If we're in school, I will have physical copies of these printed. So there's a number of ways to get them for you. And then the next thing you're going to do is this varsity assignment, 1.1, submit work and grade here. And when you do that, we'll talk more about that in the future because we haven't gotten that far yet. Then the next thing, note video number 2. So it quite literally goes through and lays out the order that you're going to do everything in for this class. Okay. Also, you're going to have a calendar posted for the class, and it is right up at the top of the classwork area. So if I click on that, let me just show you what that looks like. Oh, why isn't that opening? Oh, there we go. So I'm going to click on the calendar. It's going to open up a PDF for us. And I've got the whole first marking period in here. So you can see when is a note day. So note day for video 1 is Tuesday the 25th. Remember, if your notes are turned in by 8 a.m. that morning, you get 30 out of 25. You get extra credit. If you do them in my classroom on this day, they are due by 8 a.m. the next day. So they're due this morning. So even if you're absent, no excuses. Your notes are still due the next day after a note day. Not the whole, I have a day after I was out. No, you don't. Not for notes. You do for assignments, not for notes. You know when they're due. Look, here's video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, video 5. That's the end of chapter 1. Then we have video 6, video 7, video 8, and that's the end of chapter 2 and the end of the first 9 weeks. So you know exactly when notes are due. They're all posted for you. You have access to everything you need. There is no reason for you to fall behind. So that's just my little soapbox there. All right, so that takes you out to Google Classroom, so you know what you're doing there. Let me go back here. So you're going to take pictures of your notes, go to Google Classroom, go to the assignment for the video, which was that very first one. You're going to click on the assignment, and that allows you to upload your notes and submit. All right, so that's it. I like to end my videos with a toodaloo. I won't tell you that every time, but I'm telling you now. So toodaloo.